So, for everybody that cheated already, you know that we're going over the talents again. Yay, right? So, the song Gratitude that we just got done listening to is the only one that I actually asked for. It was kind of one of those things where he's talking about all I've got is my song, and that's it to give you praise. And I think it's a really good way to talk about and start getting into the talents, because what it boils down to is we all have multiple talents. We all have talents that God's given us. And those talents are all used to glorify God. It's not necessarily singing to Him and just singing His praise, but actually using those talents, specifically just using them the way He intended them, is glorifying Him. So I get up here and I talk about my parents a lot. My wife. They're the people that wind up usually influencing my life more than anybody outside of Christ. So I can tell you that ever since I was a kid, I can remember my dad answering the door or telephone with this one statement: "I don't know what you're selling, but I can't afford it. Even if I could, I don't want it." It always made me laugh. It always made the person he was selling it to laugh, because they were generally not salesperson. There's a number of things about my father that I really truly admire, and his uncanny ability to make people laugh is one of them. I don't know that I really inherited that one as much as I did the one where he also had the inherent ability to make people want to punch him in the face in about 3 seconds after meeting him. I know for a fact I got all of that one. So today, again, like I said, we're going to be talking about the talents. I promise that by the time we get done, you might not want to punch me in the face. But I also led that with might, or put might in there for a reason. Because we're going to go over quite a few sermons. There's going to be a little bit of everything from a lot of the sermons that I've done. Everything from fire insurance to time is of the essence. And obviously, we're talking about the talents again, and that was just a month ago. So we're going to dive in immediately. And so let's just read the parable of talents right off the bat. "For it is just like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted them with his possessions. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2 talents, and to another 1 talent, each according to his own ability. The servant who had received 5 talents went at once and put them to work, and gained 5 more. Likewise, the one with 2 talents gained 2 more, but the servant who received the 1 talent went off, dug a hole, and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants returned to settle accounts with them. The servant who had received 5 talents came and presented 5 more. 'Master,' he said, 'you entrusted me with 5 talents. See, I have gained 5 talents more.' His master replied, 'Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with few things, so I will put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of your master.' The servant who had received 2 talents also came and said, 'Master, you entrusted me with 2 talents. See, I have gained 2 more.' And his master replied, 'Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many. Come and enter into the joy of your master.' Then the servant who had received the 1 talent came and said, 'Master, I knew that you are a hard man, reaping where you did not sow and gathering where you did not scatter seed. So I was afraid and went out and hid your talent in the ground. See, you have what belongs to you. You wicked and lazy servant, replied his master. You knew that I reap where I sow and have not. You knew that I reap what I have not sown, and gather where I have not scattered seed. then you should have at least deposited my money with the bankers, and on my return I would have received it back with interest. Therefore, take the talent from him and give it to the one who has 10 talents. For whoever has will be given more, and he will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what he does have will be taken away. And throw that worthless servant into the outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So last month, my sermon all hinged on the revelation from this one part, and I don't know that it really made it to everybody, but Chico pointed it out at the end. It was those 6 little words. And it's as, sorry, I have it written down right there. There you go. Yeah, I apologize. Each according to his own ability. I don't know how it got lost over here. I apologize. There it is. So each according to his own ability. And even Chico had said that before last month, he had never even seen and paid attention to the fact that the abundance for each individual one was given each according to their own ability. So you sat there and you listened to me talk for 40 minutes based on that one portion of that verse, 6 words. And I held you hostage for the entire thing. And it's one of the things where I think that that's one of my talents. Is I think that I've been given this ability to be captivating enough. It's not because what I have to say is fantastic or fantastical, but just because you do feel like you're being held hostage. Like, for that matter, sometimes I think the only reason why my wife married me is because she has Stockholm Syndrome. So honestly, though, I want you to really think about that. According to your own perspective, what talents has God given you? With Kay, come on up, Kay. Kay was given this special ability for all you people on YouTube. And it seems like the smallest thing, Kay has the ability to give people hugs that matter more than anything. And you can feel the intent and love behind every single hug. I love you, lady.
I love you.
And so sometimes, though, Kay is so loving and gives hugs to the point at which it's potentially a detriment to her own health. Just a couple weeks ago, she stepped out to give me a hug without letting me know she was stepping out to give me a hug and looked like a car getting hit by a freight train. Now, there's a lot of people out there that would say that giving a hug is not a talent. I think Kay could easily prove anybody wrong. I feel like if you were to get a hug from Kay and you'd never met her before, you'd understand that she didn't turn her 5 talents into 10, but 15 or more maybe. So just as I was writing this sermon, I received another little revelation. And this kind of hit me in a different way, because just like the sower's parable, where everybody at some point in their life, sometimes multiple times in a day, go from being in the weeds where the word is being choked out, or being hardened and the root not being able to take, or being fertile soil where things are happening the way they're supposed to. But in that same way, we are all given different talents and different measures. And so it's one of those things where I was like, holy crap, like I can't believe we've got literally these different talents that each one of us have that could actually be used in different measures, so that we each have something that fits in a different way. And you're supposed to use every talent you have to the best of your ability. So, like I said, time is of the essence, and we've talked about it in the past, where you don't have a lot of time. You may have 80 years, and even then, that's a blink of the eye. You may have 15 years. We don't know. Every single one of us is given 2 dates before we're even born. It's our born on date or our birth date and our expiration date. It's funny, so I thought about this whole expiration date thought, and when you go to the grocery store, there's actually 2 different types of expiration dates, right? You're going down the canned food aisle and you pick up a can of Del Monte peas and you look at the bottom of it has an expiration date. Del Monte, the manufacturer, said that after this date, these peas are bad. Throw them away, right? They've obviously never been poor, but that's besides the point. But then you have my favorite, which is the best by date. So you go over the milk aisle, and the milk aisle has everyone. It's not expired on the date. It is best by that date. And I can tell you that there have been gallons of milk that I have drank for 5 or 6 days beyond the best by date, and they were perfectly fine. You just give them a sniff before you pour it on your milk, before you pour it on your cereal. But I've also at the same time had gallons of milk that were bad 3 days prior to their best by date. And I'm telling you right now, for a guy who will easily drink milk for 5 or 6 days past it, having it expire on me 3 days prior, I felt quite cheated. So the one thing that stinks about being human is, unlike those cans, when we're born, we don't know what our expiration date is. We don't know when we're going to pass. A day after birth, hours after birth, 100 years after birth, 900 years after birth. We go back to Noah, Moses. So Paul said, "And now behold, by the Spirit I am on my way to Jerusalem, not knowing what will happen to me, except that the Holy Spirit solemnly testifies to me in city after city, saying that chains and afflictions await me. But I do not consider my life of any account as dear to myself, so that I might finish my course and the ministry which I received from the Lord, to testify solemnly of the gospel of God's grace." We don't need to know our expiration date. It's not about the expiration date, and for that matter, it's not even about the birth date. It's about everything in between. The dash, right? Everybody's heard this poem, The Dash. What matters is what you did, what you're doing now, and what you're planning on doing in the future. I've said it time and time again, and I'll continue to say it. Time is of the essence. Those who have, more will be given. And to those who don't have, what they do have will be taken away. And all of us have talents. You might not think so, but sure as I stand here, I can tell you that if you didn't have a talent that He wanted you to use, there is a good chance you wouldn't be here. Last month, we talked about those talents and we compared them to the minas, and how minas can be compared to God's grace and mercy and forgiveness, while the talents are more than just about those gifts. These talents are gifts, but they're not for us. They're for Him. They're for His glory and how it is that you are supposed to glorify God. But just like our time on this earth, it's not about us. The time is about Him. Don't get me wrong, enjoying life is part of it. Putting a roof over your head, living in a nice place, having a great car in a garage, putting a boat out on the water. All those things are awesome and amazing things. But that's not what we're here for. In fact, I want you to think about it more of a grand design. In order for you to get any of those things, you have to actually participate in life. Somebody did anyway. Regardless of whether you're a trust fund baby or not, it doesn't matter. Somebody had to participate to be able to make the money that you spend. So the thing is, the more you're actually involved in life, the more people you run across. Well, the more people you run across, the more opportunities God gives you to be an epistle to the people you meet and run across. Every moment in your day, every day, is a chance to spread God's light. So a couple of years ago, I won't mention what the name of the class is, but I took a big, large group class through my real estate office that I paid way too much money for. There was about 120 of us. We went through this exercise where we were to put a piece of paper on our back, and everybody was to write, or not everybody, we were supposed to choose 10 people to have 10 people write something on our back that they saw in us. So we went through that process and everything, and these two people wrote on my back something that I had no clue was seen. One of them wrote, man of God, and the other one wrote, faithful. And that was right about the time that I had just started getting up and giving a word in Save Savage from time to time. I didn't know it then, but that's really kind of one of the things that I needed to fuel it. That I did not see the effect that my life was having on other people outside of us here or at Save Savage. I only looked in my own group, my own echo chamber as we call it. I didn't see that there were people outside of these walls and outside of my life that were being affected by everything that I did every single day. And two of the people, 20%, noticed that I was a man of God and faithful. That's a pretty big deal. That's a change, because I guarantee you a couple years prior to that, they wouldn't have had anything like that to say about me. So we're going to do that right this second. Chico was given a pen, and he's going to start, because we have somebody here in our midst. I'm sorry if you're online, you don't get to participate. But somebody in our midst is struggling to find a talent that they're using. So I would like everybody in this church right now to please get up and walk over to that person and write something down that you don't think she sees. Don't worry, it's okay. Come on, Leah. Come on, Pat. Yes. Yep, all one person right now. Yes, it's the one over here. I'm trying to be anonymous online. Yes. Not because she's the only one struggling, but she's the one that I think... Oh, just one item each. Everybody writes one item about that person each. So nowhere in the Bible, while you guys are all getting up and taking care of this, nowhere in the Bible does it say that being faithful is easy. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that being faithful makes you more money. It doesn't say that it makes it easier or that it cures every problem you have. But if you know anything, you do know what it says. It says, "For whoever has will be given more, and he will have an abundance. But whoever does not have, even what he does have, will be taken away." So from the date of our birth, time starts ticking. We're expected to grow. We're expected to mature by the people around us. Some, like myself, challenge it and do whatever we can to remain a kid for as long as possible, sometimes until you're 43. I mean, not that I'm not 43 yet. I mean, I'm about to be 44. So, we're fighting it still, maybe. But then you have other people who think that sitting in a drive-thru for 5 minutes is far too long, and those people usually wind up being bankers, engineers, and even editors. And they grow up really fast, and they become really mature very quickly, and they hold us who are not accountable. There's no doubt that God has that same expectation. He expects that from the time we are Well, nobody's hearing it, luckily. So let's see. Here we go. Are we here? Are we on? Are we live? Are we live? All right. Lost batteries in the mic. So, like I was saying, for anybody that was online that missed it, there's no doubt that God has the same exact expectation for us from the point at which we were born again. Some of us are scared, and you should be. So take things a little bit slower. It's all right. Some people actually charge forward like fools, and it seems like they're rewarded when they probably shouldn't be. The pace at which you spiritually mature, though, is also 100% dependent on you. You get to choose the people you hang around. You get to choose how much you read the Bible. Most of it's actually just how much we don't read the Bible. You get to choose to shine the light that God has put inside of you. You either get to choose whether you have faith or doubts. Folks, let's just be honest. It's simple. You can either have excuses or you can have results. But you can't have them both. Everyone has only one life to live. What stinks, though, is sometimes it's just the little things. One of the things I absolutely love, Jeannie and Chico, so we'll call them Gino together. Jeannie and Chico, Jeannie and Chico wear faith-based t-shirts a lot. And sometimes that's all it takes. It's that little thing to just spark something in somebody, to get a conversation going, to make them stop and pray themselves, to get you to stop and pray with them. It's the Ronco Showtime rotisserie oven. Just set it and forget it. Please don't misunderstand my statement, though, when I say set it and forget it. Because that's not meant to be condescending. It's not meant to be a negative thing. In fact, that's exactly how the light of Jesus is supposed to be. We're supposed to shine that light as if it wasn't a challenge. It's just supposed to be who we are, because that's who we were reborn to be. Chico always tells us that sometimes you may be the only epistle that somebody in our life, in passing or at work or friend, may ever read. So it should be our mantra to set it and forget it. Now, if you're worried about people finding out whether you're a Christian or not, and I mean anybody, then you might as well have just bought fire insurance. And there it is. You just hid or buried that talent that God gave you, which means you never even said it, and you sure as heck didn't forget about it. If anything, you're doing everything you can to hide from what God gave you to be that light. And let me tell you something. Here's where we're going to get a little bit too real for some people, and you're just going to have to get over it. Because that fire insurance ain't going to do any good in hell. If you think that those insurance adjusters that come out to look at your house or your car are bad, wait till you get a chance to meet Satan. For those who do not have, what they do have will be taken. How do you think that works? I want all of y'all to think about it. How do you think that works? It's just like those measuring sticks that we talked about a couple months ago. Don't think I'm casting judgment at anybody, because those measuring sticks were given to each of us. But each one of those have their own name on them. They are for you to measure yourself as to how you are doing in God's eyes. Not for me to measure you, not for you to measure other people. I'm just wanting to remind you that you cannot blindly hide your talent. And if you do, you are literally doing everything you can to not choose God. Jesus said, "You wicked, lazy servant. You knew that I reap where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. Then you should have deposited my money with the bankers, and on my return I would have received it back in interest." Like I said earlier, it is your choice. Now, I wholeheartedly believe that there are plenty of people that struggle to find their calling. There are plenty of people that struggle to hear the voice of God. It took me a long time. And I know that I'm on the right path right now. I don't know where it leads. I don't know how long I'm going to be up here, but I know that I'm where I'm supposed to be right now. I don't need to know the future for the same reason I don't need to know the expiration date. But the thing is if even if you're not using your talent, but you were at a minimum of just trusting in God and giving things to God, you wind up being a better human being. You wind up taking care of people. You look at all of your neighbors as somebody you should love, regardless whether you like them or not. And just that one thing will collect the soul. Just being a better person will collect the soul. Now, I want to make sure that I clarify and say that that doesn't mean that you can't be a Christian and do this. You can. You have to be a Christian, though, in order to shine God's light. You can be a great person and still go to hell. But you can be a person that claims to be a Christian and not shine God's light at all and potentially go to hell. It's important to know you have got to do the minimum, which is at least change that outer person. You've got to be able to express what God has given us, grace, mercy, and love to the people around you. That's the bare minimum. That's putting your talent in the bank and not earning anything but a minimal interest. Jesus said in Matthew 7 that for the gate is narrow and the way is constricted that leads to life. And there are few who find it. Like I said earlier, that's nowhere in the Bible does it say that it's easy to be a Christian. Being a Christian is tough. Being a good steward of everything that He has given us is even tougher. He gave you this talent. He expects you to use it. He didn't say this is going to be the easiest thing you've ever done. Growing up has been pretty dang hard already. What do you think it's going to be like to mature spiritually? Being a Christian is not for the faint of heart. You have to remember that at some point in your life, you had to actually be strong enough to fall on your knees and admit that you couldn't do it without Him. It's time to go to work. It's time for you to fill that dash. It's time for you to start doing what God set out for you. And if that means that we have to do this paper practice for every single person that we know, then that's what we do. We help people find their talents because that's what Christians do. We band together. Iron sharpens iron for a reason. We help people find what it is that God's called them to do. We don't have the same thing that a Del Monte can has. We don't get born with a tattoo that says, this is when you die, figure it out now. There is no best by date. The time is now. The time is now. You have to make the choice now. Time is of the essence, right? Today is the day. It's kind of a somber way to end it. I'm sorry if it feels rough. It's been a little funny some points, but it's kind of tough. There's nothing about doing the work of God for God and in His glory that is easy. Goodness gracious, though, it can be so rewarding. But you have to do the hard part, and you have to do it now. Everybody, we thank you so much for joining us here today at Bayview Christian Center, both online and in person. Especially the people who have to put up with me in person, my sniffles that you guys don't get to hear online. So if you want to find us, our audio is at bayviewcc.org, Facebook Live and YouTube, both are Bayview Christian Center. This coming Wednesday is the 7th and final day for the Elijah study that we've been doing with Priscilla Shirer. And that is being facilitated by Todd Woodruff, that guy over there. If you'd like to give to our ministry, if you'd like to help support our church, you can always type the word give or text the word give, G-I-V-E, to 281-559-6580. And that be all. We are offline. Well, are we offline?